Hey, Daniel, there was a lot of optimism heading into the season. Does this take a little the air out of that optimism?
Hold on, Daniel. Let me answer that for you. Absolutely not. What is going on, guys? What is going on, 27 Squad? Welcome back into another video, and today we are recapping the New York Giants home opener debut against the Pittsburgh Steelers. And to answer that question that was asked from that beat writer to Daniel Jones, absolutely not. The optimism should not have been deflated. Nobody should be any less optimistic than when they were going into this game. And we're going to break down everything that happened in this game. But first, I have to tell you guys, who honestly thought we were going to win this game? If you guys remember my prediction video, my preview video, I said the Giants are going to lose 27-17, and they lost 26-16. I mean, I was almost just on the money, and I'm still optimistic about this team. I was still optimistic about the team in the preview, even though I had us losing by 10 points. I still am optimistic about this team, and they're just looking back on it with all my emotions put aside. There is a lot to take out of this game. I'm not going to sit here and sugarcoat anything. We're going to get into the nitty gritty, the good, the bad, and the ugly. But there are a lot of things that everybody's just overlooking because of a couple of mistakes. Let's get right into it. First, I want to highlight some things from PFF that my boy, The Hub, brought to my attention that I want to notice, put out there for you guys. That kind of helps my argument just a little bit, and we'll go over right here. This tweet right now that I'm about to send you guys, that I'll show you guys, really says a lot. And there's a lot of other tweets, but this one really hits it for me. Lorenzo Carter ranked 10th best edge defender this week. Blake Martinez, 7th best off-ball linebacker. Martinez also led the league in stops with 11. I'm not really sure what that means. Maybe that means, I'm not really sure what that means, stops. But Daniel Jones ranked 8th in offense on the week. I don't know if that's ranked offense like in total, but that's insane if he's the 8th best offensive player in the week. Tomlinson and D-Law, top 15 defenders for D-line this week, which tells a lot. And Slayton 20th on offense for wide receivers this week. The Giants had a lot of players ball out last night. They had a lot of players ball out, and there was just a couple of mistakes that really affected this team in big ways. The Giants start off, moving the ball decently through the air, not in the run game, but through the air on their first drive, hitting Sterling Shepard a couple of times. And of course, we had that third down missed conversion from Evan Ingram, who had a terrible game. Evan Ingram just dropped everything, and the only good play he had was a really good play on a defender on a seam route right over the defender, but he pushed off and it was called back. So unfortunately that's what happened, but Evan Ingram is not playing well. Caden Smith definitely played a lot better than Evan Ingram did. But the Giants offense actually looked pretty good in their first drive. It was shortened due to that third down failed conversion there. And then the Giants had to punt it off, and of course we saw that muffed punt by Deontay Johnson. He fair caught it a little too late. Great job by the special teams, able to jump on it. But then, in that drive, Evan Ingram again came up short. But that third down in particular, and I'm just gonna highlight the third down there on that goal line drive there. That was both on Daniel Jones and Evan Ingram. We've seen Evan Ingram make one-handed catches before. Yes, I may be asking a little too much of him, but he's done it before. And Daniel Jones definitely was way off the mark for Evan. It was just a little bit out of his reach, but I'd say 50-50 blame on each one of them. Daniel Jones was under pressure and wasn't able to get to him. I was saying it when we were live streaming the game with the Hub last night, right before the game started. I said, listen, this is going to depend on coaching experience and who's able to adjust better within the game. And obviously that was the Steelers. The Steelers are the more experienced team. They have more, franchise guys in there, guys that have been there for a long time. The longest tenured Giants on this team is Sterling Shepard. Okay, this is a new coaching staff. Okay, and people hear me say it all the time, but they're not getting it through their heads. This team is inexperienced. You can't really expect to win, a game of chess against an experienced coaching staff like the Pittsburgh Steelers. I said it in the game. I said it's all going to depend on in-field, on-field adjustments, mid-game adjustments, and who's able to adjust within the game and in the middle of the game, and that was the Steelers. And like I said before, the special teams really showed off early. Jabril Peppers had a punt that almost got taken to the house, and that would have shifted momentum in a huge way. But he got close, and he had another punt return that looked pretty good as well. And then, of course, that muff punt by Deontay Johnson and Devontae Downs able to come up with it. But special teams, A+ for special teams. Riley Dixon was great. I thought he should have, get back to last year and, start punting balls inside the 5. But, it is what it is. Riley Dixon did a good job. So let's talk about Daniel Jones. Did he play well? Did he play terribly? Let's get into the good and the bad and the ugly. By the way, guys, I'm going to have a film review up for every single Giants game. I'm just waiting for the film to come out. It takes a couple days for the all 22 film to come out, but I will do that for you guys. Let's get on to Daniel Jones. Daniel Jones performed well, but his small mistakes had big effects. You guys saw that 19-play, 8.5-minute drive, right? That was all Daniel Jones. Obviously, the Giants could not run at all in this game. Yes, Saquon had a little bit to do with it. He started running early, later on in the drive, but it was all Daniel Jones, including 2 across the body throws to Caden Smith and Saquon Barkley. Daniel Jones was on the money for the most part today. He was accurate. None of the balls wobbled. I mean, he was throwing perfect spirals. He was throwing the ball effortlessly downfield and had really good touch on the football. It all matters about that offensive line. The offensive line did very well in pass protection. We'll get to them in a second. But Daniel Jones, for the most part, played really well. Now let's talk about those 2 interceptions. TJ Watt interception. I don't know what the hell Daniel Jones. Both of them were boneheaded interceptions, and they're very telling to Daniel Jones is just not ready yet, but he's going to be ready. He is going to be ready. We'll talk about that in a few. But Daniel Jones, the first interception. TJ Watt, that was intended for Evan Ingram. Evan Ingram was tightly covered on that out route by Terrell Edmonds. Don't really know if that was going to be intercepted anyway, probably. But TJ Watt, he didn't see him. TJ Watt came out of nowhere, intercepted the ball. The second interception, Daniel Jones going out, rolling out left, and that's not his throwing side. The quarterbacks aren't really right-handed quarterbacks can't really throw really well on the left side. So it was very awkward how he tried to do it. But he tried to get the ball out, and he was hit as he threw. And Darius Slayton was the intended target. I could see that he was, but man, that wasn't going to reach him anyway. Even if he threw the ball cleanly, and then Cameron Hayward came up with the interception. Both were terrible. Both are inexcusable. So don't sit here thinking that I'm going to be excusing Daniel Jones' mistakes here. But those were 2 mistakes out of the whole game that Daniel Jones made that pretty much costed us the game. Yes, it did cost us the game for the most part. Daniel Jones on that 3rd down in the first drive could have hit Evan Ingram. That would have been a touchdown. And if Daniel Jones at least would have just taken the sack instead of turning the ball over after that 9-minute drive, we could have went up with a field goal there. So there's small mistakes that really costed us the game, but Daniel Jones throughout the game remained consistent in throwing the ball. There was never a time that he looked flustered. There was never a time that he looked frustrated or confused, or he always looked extremely confident when throwing the ball. He never looked out of it, and that's something I really like. Jason Garrett, I apparently was able to, get Daniel Jones on this game pretty quickly, and Daniel Jones seems to have it down. Now let's get on to the offensive line. The offensive line was absolutely opposite of what I thought they were going to be. I thought they were going to be a lot better in the run game, and me and the Hub were talking about this during the game. I thought they were going to be a lot better in the run game and bad in the passing game. Turns out they were extremely well in the passing game and terrible in the run game. Let's talk first about my guy, everybody's guy, Nick Gates. I come out with a little bit of praise for Nick Gates doing my film review, and he does this to me. I say I'm confident in Nick Gates holding down the interior of the offensive line because that's what I like. That's what I saw in the film review. I like what I saw in the film review of him in the interior, but playing center, he was absolutely Tyson Alawalu, who was supposed to be the weakness of this defensive line, absolutely killed Nick Gates. And then when there came to blitzes and it was a little too overwhelming, Nick Gates just completely folded under pressure and wasn't able to hold out the blitzes. Now, keep in mind this is a strong front seven, but he is the starter. He has to start playing like a starter, otherwise he won't. Cameron Fleming could not hold TJ Watt for the life of him. Cameron Fleming was all over the place. There was this one play in particular that I highlighted with the hub. Oh my god, where Cameron Fleming was, the ball was snapped and he sees a speed rusher like way off the distance and chases the speed rusher, completely does not see, I believe it's Vince Williams coming through the other gap to his left, and he gets turned around and just, he's not able to do anything. You can't pull his collar, his collar or whatever it's called. You can't pull on that. And you can't force a holding call. There's really not much you can do. You can't get an illegal block in the back. There's not much you can do when the guy's behind you already. So Cameron Fleming played terribly. Andrew Thomas played absolutely fantastic. There's a stat by PFF Giants saying that Andrew Thomas only allowed 3 hurries by Bud Dupree. Yes, Bud Dupree did very well in the run game, especially stopping Saquon Barkley. Oh my god. And that's, the run game needs to get better. But one thing I will say is that every time that Bud Dupree got past Andrew Thomas in the run game, they were overloading Andrew Thomas. They were putting multiple rushers on Andrew Thomas, and Bud Dupree was the one to get free. This was not one-on-one every time Bud Dupree got free in the run game getting to Saquon Barkley. They knew what they were doing there. And once this is what I said about on-field adjustments, right? Mid-game adjustments, and that's how I knew the Pittsburgh Steelers were probably going to come back in this game, because they're just so experienced. Once they knew that the Giants cannot handle more complex defensive schemes, they started running that more and more. You saw more of Vince Williams coming inside. You saw more of Mike Hilton, the nickel cornerback, blitzing from the outside. You saw more of that, and he even got a sack as well. He was all over Daniel Jones. So once they saw that, they were able to capitalize on that and say, hey, this offensive line cannot handle complex, blitzes. Let's stunt inside. Let's put more guys on the outside. And that's exactly what they did. And you know what? Props to them. They found a way to beat our offensive line when we were beating them early. Darius Slayton and Sterling Shepard absolutely played well in this game. You look at Darius Slayton, he had 6 receptions, 102 yards, and 2 touchdowns. So props to all the fantasy owners for Darius Slayton out there, including myself, who benched him, thinking that Allen Robinson and who else? I think A.J. Brown was going to perform better, but yeah, big mistake. And Sterling Shepard played well as well. 6 receptions, 47 yards. He was, especially early in the game, he was absolutely money. Caught everything. There was even a ball that sailed right over him. He was still able to catch it. That's the type of radius that Sterling Shepard has, even at a 5'10" frame. So let's get on to the defense. Now, the defense held out very strong. And let me say that this defensive line was absolutely fantastic in the run game, especially getting pressure. You guys saw Lorenzo Carter was all over the place. Lorenzo Carter did not get a sack, but he was constantly pressuring Ben Roethlisberger. He was all over. He was killing Zach Banner, absolutely killing him. And you look on the inside, Dexter Lawrence was able to get a sack. Lorenzo Carter was supposed to come up with that sack. He slipped off. Ben Roethlisberger is just great at doing that. And then Dexter Lawrence was able to clean it up. And then Leonard Williams also came in for a sack as well. Leonard Williams now has more sacks. And yes, I say plural because he had a half sack last year. He has more sacks with the Giants this year in this game than he did all season with the Giants, which is really good. He's playing to that $16 million contract. Let's get 15 more of those, Leonard. 15 more. But the defensive line absolutely played well. They killed James Conner. They didn't let him go anywhere. Then they switched over to Benny Snell. Benny Snell started off pretty slow. And even so, Benny Snell didn't have an amazing stat line in the middle of the game. I believe he came out with 19 carries for 113 yards, 5.9 yards a carry. That looks great and all. But Benny Snell did not have a great stat line midway through the game, even like through the third quarter. It was really the fourth quarter where the defense was gassed out. They were starting to give up. They were just starting to lay it down and give up. And that's when Benny Snell really started to take over, and that's when the offensive coordinator, this is what I said, mid-game adjustments, they were able to adjust and start pulling with their guards because they noticed that's been working. Running those power plays on the outside was really helping with Benny Snell. They were getting nothing on the inside, nothing at all, but they started pulling their guards, running to the right, running to the left, and they were able to get successful that way. But props to the whole front seven. Blake Martinez was making great tackles. Devontae down, stopping the run. I mean, I'm really proud of this team stopping the run. Really proud. As far as the passing game goes, we started off good early, but, midway through the game onwards, it was just terrible. James Bradbury was severely inconsistent, letting up plays to guys like James Washington, letting up plays to a rookie, Chase Claypool, that beautiful toe tap drag swag by Chase Claypool. Julian Love had the effort of trying to knock that ball free, but it was, to no avail. James Bradbury was inconsistent, and he was able to knock a ball away, I believe on a third down try to James Washington. James Washington looked like he had it, and James Bradbury was able to knock the ball away mid-air. So really like that, but James Bradbury was on and off this game. And Corey Ballentine was completely off. Now, let me say this. Corey Ballentine off the gate was fine covering, but the back shoulder throws, we can't blame him for that. Back shoulder throws are one of the hardest to defend. But, the comeback route by James Washington, or I believe it was Deontay Johnson, that needs to be cleaned up by Corey Ballentine. He started off fine. If it was a fly route, if it was a go route, Corey Ballentine would have had great coverage. But once the guy stops, he's just not able to stop in time. So he really needs to clean that up and work on those comeback routes, work on those stop and goes, because that's what really killed him. Isaac Yiadom got killed the same way. It was Juju Smith-Schuster's touchdown was a little stop and go, like a little drag stop and go, and Isaac Yiadom stopped and couldn't, gain back his momentum fast enough to beat Juju Smith. So that there was a touchdown there for Juju as well. And then one thing that Joe Judge said in the press conference was that the team has some sort of sense of urgency in the game all 60 minutes, and I don't think that was true at all. We were driving down on our last touchdown. Granted, we did score, but the offense looked very sluggish. We were able to move down the field. Nobody was running to the line of scrimmage to just try to hike the ball. Everybody was just calm. Everybody was walking to the line. It seemed like they didn't care anymore. You still give your chance. We got the ball back with about 3 minutes and 24 seconds left with 2 timeouts. We could have got down the field and scored with a minute, knocking down a minute and a half, getting down to the 2 minute. But, we knocked so much time out. It was unbelievable. So that being said, they need to put out more effort there in the end of the game, just to, pick up right where they left off, in the next week. We got to figure something out with Saquon Barkley, man. How do you guys have the best running back in football and don't know how to use the guy? He did well in that one screenplay where he was let off loose, but, when you have 3 Steelers in the backfield, how do you expect to defend against it? How do you expect to overcome that when you have 3 Steelers in the backfield? As soon as you touch the ball, he can't like pull up magic every single down. That being said, guys, let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. Let me know everything you guys think, and we're on to Chicago. I'll be back for a preview soon of the Chicago game, and I'll also be putting up my film review for the Giants in the next coming days whenever the film wants to come out. So leave your thoughts in the comment section below. Leave a like if you guys enjoyed. Subscribe if you guys are new, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Woo!